Hey everyone, welcome to my March monthly plan with me video. This month's theme is based around springtime and camping. I know it may be a little bit early for these things, but it's something I'm really looking forward to, so I decided to use it for my theme this month. For these pages, I'll mostly be using Arrtx acrylic paint markers, and I was recently gifted their new line of 90 paint markers to test out. And stay tuned because there's going to be a giveaway for an opportunity to win a set of these markers for yourself. So if you've watched some of my previous videos, then you might know that I'm currently involved with a Draw Daily art program, and I've currently drawn every single day for 50 days in a row since this year started, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me and something I never thought I'd be able to do so consistently for such a stretch of time. I really do find that once I create a long streak of doing something, it's really hard to break it. So sometimes that's my motivation to keep going, even on the days when I don't necessarily want to draw fundamentals, which is what we're learning right now. Super useful and necessary, but drawing shapes and perspectives is just so tedious and precise, and I've really grown to embrace my wonkiness and mistakes in my art lately. It's a good challenge, and I'm definitely improving my art in many ways, so I'm persevering through it. But anyways, at the end of last month, we were prompted to create our own character and use some of what we had been learning. So of course I used Gray Kitty because he's my main guy, but I decided to draw him in a camping outfit, and it was so cute that it completely sparked the inspiration for this theme I'm drawing here. I get to a point every winter where I'm like, okay, that's enough, you can go away now. And I've hit that point recently, so being able to create a theme that has tons of springtime colors and activities really helped me to distract from the fact that it's actually quite cold and snowy out lately. So you can see across the top of the screen that I've chosen quite a few colors for this month's theme. I really enjoyed the wide variety of colors in this set, and I'll be using most of the colors of the rainbow for this fun springtime theme. Originally, I was gonna write March on Gray Kitty's little flag. I had added a wave in the flag because I recently learned how to draw them in my course, and I wanted to incorporate that into this drawing. But then I realized that if I wrote March on it, then part of the word would not be visible because it would be wrapping around the fold in the flag. So I ended up drawing flowers on it instead and writing March on the grassy hill. I have some colored fine liners, and I decided to use this green color to outline the word March because when I was test swatching my colors for these pages, I thought that a black outline looked a bit too harsh. This probably has more to do with the fact that I've been primarily fine lining everything with gray fine liners lately, so when I tried to do this all in black, it just seemed too dark for me. But my main issue with using dark gray fine liner over these paints is that because it's a lighter shade and not a solid black color, it does tend to pool the ink with a darker looking spot wherever I lift up the fine liner from the paper. I found a really random hack to fix this though, and I just use my kneaded eraser to dab at the little pools of ink that are left behind, and that removes the excess ink, and then the line will look one consistent tone or color. Sometimes dabbing the ink away will smudge a little bit, but the great thing about paint markers is that you can always just come in and cover up any mistakes super easily, and that's one thing I really love about paint markers. I know I also mentioned in a past video that I was gonna get a fine-tipped black Posca paint marker for creating outlines on top of acrylic paint, and I did do that, but I found the marker tip is a bit scratchy on the paper, and it tends to grab the paper as I'm drawing with it and flings out little specks of black paint randomly. So in the end, I continued using the dark gray fine liner for my outlines, and I'm using a black fine liner for the facial features of my characters to make them pop a little. So I've drawn the entire cover page, and then on the left page here, I'm creating a little cloud. And this could be used for a quote or a verse, but oftentimes I don't have anything in mind as I'm creating it, so I just leave it blank. but these paint markers are just so satisfying to color with that I often find it fun to create a blank page for quotes or a thought later on in the month, even though I may never actually get around to filling it out, and that's fine too. I just think it's a nice way to tie the pages together, and to be honest, I just have a hard time leaving a blank page next to my cover art. And here's a closer look at the cover page for this month. So let's take a closer look at this set of acrylic paint markers now. As usual, Arrtx has beautiful packaging that I really enjoy, and this marker case is nice and sturdy, which I always appreciate with any art product. This box has 90 different paint markers in it, and the box is rather large, so you'll see me struggling to flip it around a little. And here are the representations of all the colors included on the back, and I'll be swatching those in just a moment here. The top of this box comes off, and inside there's a business card from Arrtx with their contact info, and then a couple of sticker sheets for labeling the marker colors. The small circles go on the ends of the markers, and I'm not sure where these larger ones are supposed to go. That's probably up to personal preference, but honestly, I usually just tape it to the inside of the box as a color reference guide. I'm using my sticker tweezers to place all of the color code stickers on the ends of these markers. So it's kind of important when you get a set like this to not mess up the order the markers arrive in until you have all of your stickers placed on them. Also, keep an eye out as you're going along. Although not every sticker matches the exact color of the marker's end, it should be fairly close, and as you'll see when I get towards the end of this set, I saw a brown marker where this purple 76 marker should have been, and then realized it was a duplicate of the brown marker in the row below, and that I was missing the purple that was supposed to be in that spot. So keep an eye out because mistakes in packaging do happen. Here is what the markers look like up close. There's very limited information on the marker itself, and as you can see, I've placed all of the stickers on the ends, and there's a cute letter A on the caps of each one. These markers have a nice fine brush tip on them, which I found really useful for getting into small areas easily and being able to have a lot of control in laying the paint down where I wanted it to be. Fortunately, since I own the 60B anime set, which is another color variation of these markers, I had the missing purple shade that I mentioned to you was missing in this set of 90. So I'll still be able to show you the entire set of colors without having to skip over that one. And overall, I really love the variety of colors in this set. There are so many pinks and blues, purples and greens to choose from. However, I was a little disappointed that there's only one gray color. That usually wouldn't matter to me much, but since my main character is gray, I was just surprised to see only one gray marker in this whole set of 90. There is a metallic silver marker, as well as a blue-gray that could probably be used for shadows, but normally I see more grays included in other color palettes I've used. However, I will say that they do seem to have a really great selection of skin tones, which I think are all represented by the S on the bottom row here. I don't draw humans very often, so I can't say for sure, but I think this looks like a pretty nice collection of skin tone colors. I know many companies that offer a separate add-on for these colors, so it's really nice to see 11 of them included here, and you could also use a few of the lighter cream and yellow colors at the top of the swatch page to also mix or create some additional skin tones. Back to my March setup now, and on these next pages, I'll be getting started on some trackers and spaces to write down goals and income for the month. I'm using this white marker from Arrtx's other line of acrylic paint markers, which are called Simp Taps, because the coverage is just really great with them for larger spaces like this. This white paint marker is really opaque, and so I've been keeping it on my desk recently to use for highlights here and there, and I knew it would come in handy for these clouds. If you'd like a more in-depth look at how these SimpTap acrylic markers differ from the ones I'm using in this video, then you can check out my January monthly and weekly videos where I reviewed them, and I'll leave those in the description for you. I decided to darken my pencil sketches for certain characters where I didn't want to lose their features or color outside of their lines where they might end up looking funny. This way, I was still able to see some of the sketch lines through the paint even after I had laid it down. The extra pencil lead did end up getting a bit smudgy when I layered paint over it, but since I lay down multiple layers anyhow, it all covered up fairly easily. And I probably didn't mention that earlier, but I'm going over each layer of color 2 or 3 times because I really like getting a smooth and opaque coverage. These paint markers don't have the ability to pump out extra paint manually. I found that if your marker gets a bit dry, you can shake it a bit and that will bring more paint to the marker tip, but other than that, there is no way to manually get extra paint out of these markers. So for that reason, these are not quite as juicy as the SimpTap markers that I reviewed back in January. But I found that each type of marker has different purposes and uses where they really shine. With these markers, I do appreciate that I'm not accidentally flinging excess paint anywhere when removing the cap, and the colors dry very quickly because there's no extra paint coming out and pooling anywhere. However, it does mean that the coverage is a little bit lighter, but that can also come in handy. As you can see, I've laid down a darker green paint for this grass, and then I'm coming in with this adorable lime green color, and because the coverage of it isn't so heavy, I'm actually able to get a little bit of the darker green coming through as I layer the lighter green over it. And that was an effect that I thought was really fun and kind of a fun way to mix these paints and get additional colors out of the set. So I did put some thought into what order I was layering down these paints in. I started with the lake first, knowing that I would be layering the islands on top of it, and then I'm coloring in my characters and the objects on the islands last. I found this to be a useful way to color everything in because if I colored outside of the lines on any of the further away objects, then coloring in the closer objects would cover up any mistakes I had made. Again, paint markers are really forgiving in this way, and I love the ability to be able to continue layering paint and also to be able to change your mind on color and easily clean up mistakes. I also love how opaque paint markers are, and they're just a really fun medium for bullet journals. For the trees, I'm coloring them in pink and purple, which I thought would be really fun for the springtime theme. It also reminds me of how trees in various places I've lived would bloom either purple or white petals before their leaves would come in, and I think it's just so gorgeous and such a fun thing to see in spring. Then I'm outlining each of them in a darker shade of pink or purple, which is another benefit to having so many different colors in this set. So certain objects and characters I'll be outlining with fine liner, and then certain items I'll outline in a darker version of their main color like this. I'm mostly outlining the main characters on these pages with fine liner, and then I try to find a similar color for the rest of the objects' outlines since they aren't the main focus of the drawing, and I think it gives them a softer look. This is my preferred way of coloring and outlining for my digital art and stickers as well, so it's only natural that I bring it into my physical art when I have enough colors to do so. So I should probably mention more about what these pages are for. I guess I got a little carried away with the painting itself. At the top here, I've left some spaces in the clouds to write down my different goals and plans for the month. Usually my main goals are just focusing on creating these videos, but I usually also have some other side goals that I try to get to as well. And since I'm mostly working from home as well as working for one of my friends, I have an area to track my income because it can definitely be a bit random and it comes in from more than one place these days, so it's nice to have a spot to put all of that. And then at the bottom of the page will be where my trackers go. And those will probably contain my usual things to track, like reading the Bible, practicing art every day, working on my YouTube videos, and posting content, because I like to know how frequently I'm doing those things and to keep track of them. And I might also add a reading tracker this month, because I've been recently getting back into reading quite frequently again. It's kind of funny to me because reading is something I did so frequently growing up, so I don't know why I'd gotten away from it a little bit in recent years, but it definitely feels really good to be reading again. And I'm reading like 5 different books right now because that's just how I roll. From books about art and mindset to a light mystery novel, and then I have a thriller novel. And I'm also reading a book about how the United States was founded and how it's truly a country that has been so blessed. And it's remarkable the stories within this book about how this nation came to be and was strongly founded on God's word and guidance and provisions. It's really been interesting to read about. So, since I'm reading so many books, I thought it might be fun to also track how often I'm reading. I've also seen other people create bullet journals around books they're reading, so I'm definitely interested to investigate that world a little bit more, and maybe I'll create some bullet journal spreads for reading in the future. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. The final set of pages for this month are my calendar pages. And I know I normally do this set of pages right after my cover page, but with the layouts of the drawings, I decided to put the calendar page last so I could sort of tell a story with Gray Kitty and his friend. So on the cover page, we have Gray Kitty hiking up a hill and they're kind of plotting out their camping spot, even though my bunny character is not on the scene yet. And then on the tracker pages, they're out fishing and you can see their little campsite all set up. And then on these final pages, they're wrapping up their day and the bunny is roasting some of the fish they caught over the fire, and Gray Kitty is already on to the desserts and roasting some marshmallows for s'mores. So I just thought it was such a fun way to tell a story throughout these pages, and I had so much fun creating all of these illustrations for this theme. I chose a dark purple color for the calendar itself to kind of represent the night sky because I didn't want to paint the whole page a dark color because that's just not my vibe. It was a bit challenging to draw straight lines with these markers, but I think that's more of a me thing and no fault of the marker at all. But I just kept going over the lines to try to make them straighter, and so they got a little bit thicker looking than I would have liked. Maybe in the future, I'll dedicate a ruler to be used just for paint markers, but I didn't have one that I was willing to mess up with paint, so I just tried to freehand it. I've outlined the word March, and then I'm adding the days of the week and the days of the month onto the calendar. And then I'll just be coloring in this scene and building up the paint and colors as I go. So Arrtx was kind enough to offer an additional set of these paint markers to someone in my audience to win, which I'm really grateful for. It's not as if I get paid to create these videos, so I always try to at least get a free giveaway item for those of you watching. So if you're interested in trying out these paint markers for yourself, go ahead and check out the description below, and there will be more info there about how you can join this giveaway. I've really enjoyed hosting these giveaways recently because they let me see what inspires you and the subjects you all like to draw, and it's so fun to read all of your creative ideas and how different mediums I test out spark your inspiration. So thank you again to Arrtx for gifting me this set of paint markers to try, and I'm super excited for one of you to also get the opportunity to try them out. They really are such a fun medium, and I think they're really user-friendly. And I like that these ones are not super messy like some paint markers can be. I've really grown to enjoy using paint markers for my bullet journal pages this year, and one of the reasons is because the colors just show up so nicely in photos and on video. Since I often like to color with light pastel shades, I've noticed that some of the colors I've chosen in the past with my Tombow markers were sometimes too light to show up on camera well. So I really like the bold pop of colors that these provide. And I'm also planning on using paint markers for my April theme because I have such a lovely collection of green colors now, and the theme that I'll be creating calls for lots of green. So if you'd like, you can leave your guesses in the comments of what you think my April theme is going to be. And those are the only clues I'm going to give you. That it's going to be a springtime theme, of course, and that it'll be predominantly green. I don't know if that's way too vague or very obvious what the theme is, but I'm excited to get started on it soon here. Which is kind of crazy because I feel like the year just started and here I am talking about the plans I have for April already. Not sure if I'm just getting older or if time is actually going by faster these days. This month has been a bit of a struggle to stay productive, honestly. I wanted to get ahead of creating my monthly videos since April will be such a busy month for me, but I found myself more so wanting to just cozy up in a blanket with my kitty and just read or watch TV. Winter really has a way of making me slow down though, even when I don't want to. It's confusing because I do want to slow down and relax and read, but there's always an endless list of other things that need to be done in order to reach my goals and keep moving forward. It's been kind of hard to find a balance, which is why I'm so excited for spring to come around and the days to get longer and the weather to get nicer and inevitably for my motivation and energy to fully return. But I suppose that's just part of the literal seasons of life. There was a time in my life where I thought I never wanted to see snow or winter again, and I moved out of Minnesota to California just to avoid it. But honestly, I got so bored of the weather being exactly the same every day, and so I had to move again to a location that has a fairly equal balance of all of the seasons. And I just have to remind myself that winter has a purpose, and it's important to slow down, and it's just as valid and useful of a season as all of the others are. I do enjoy winter, don't get me wrong, but both winter and summer with their extreme temperatures tend to get a little bit long-winded at times in my opinion. Plus fall and spring are just my favorites, so it's nice that they land in between the long-winded seasons because there's always something to look forward to. But I'll stop rambling about the weather now. You can tell I grew up in the Midwest because that's just common conversation fodder in that region. I am outlining my characters with the dark gray fine liner again, and I'm trying to draw the outline without picking up my fine liner so that it doesn't leave those dots of extra ink behind. I'm aware it looks a little funny, but it totally helped. I forgot to color in the pinks of Gray Kitty's ears, and I'm sure that's been driving somebody nuts. I usually always forget something like this at least once in all of my videos, so consider it my little Easter egg to you to find. And then I'm just using the black fine liner to finish up the faces on my characters. So I didn't exactly plan out these pages very well because I have my little campfire scene at the bottom and then I have what appears to be a s'more just floating in the sky. I was originally going to have a s'more and a lantern along the side here just as cute additional drawings, but I changed my mind because I felt like I needed a note section more so I can write down memories or things that I need to remember or things I accomplished. The possibilities are endless and it's just really nice to have. So at one point I remember thinking, oh, I should put the s'mores above the notes box to kind of break up the page a little bit and so it wouldn't look like part of the lower scene, but then I somehow sketched the entire thing without remembering that it would look weird in that spot. And since I didn't want to erase it and start over, I just left it there. So that's just how it's gonna be, a s'more floating in the sky. It's what dreams are made of. Then I tried to freehand the box for the notes, and again, it ended up really wonky looking, and I kept trying to smooth out the lines, which made everything super chunky. But it kind of matches the calendar, so I think it all worked out. And now it's already time for our final flip through of the month of March. This is probably my favorite theme that I've made so far. I love the colors so much, and it was super fun to create a story for my characters. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the description for how to enter the giveaway, and I will see you again very soon.